Hey y'all, it's Laura and welcome back to a Coco Vanilla Studio Design Team video. This one is featuring the new Joyful collection, which has a Christmas themed collection from Coco Vanilla and happens to be my current obsession. I am loving this collection and have had the best time fussy cutting all the things, and you are going to see that illustrated in this video today. Now, one of the ways that I prepare a new collection when it comes into my stash is to fussy cut. I do have a tutorial video on fussy cutting that I will add at the end of the video so that you can check that out if you need some tips and tricks on fussy cutting. Now, the way that this works is I trim out a lot of things. So I make the most use from my pattern paper as I can, and that includes fussy cutting florals. I fussy cut large shapes like this wreath. I fussy cut smaller shapes like stars and hearts and things like that that are very easy to use to create backgrounds or to create clusters, and this just helps stretch my collection so much further. Is it a little extra work? Yes, of course, but I really enjoy it, and I think it makes the scrapping process a whole lot easier, which for this video was very, very true. This layout took me 23 minutes to complete, which is significantly less than the normal hour to hour and a half minimum that I normally use to create a layout. So 20 minutes was much easier to fit into my holiday schedule than an hour and a half. I don't know about you, it's been a busy month. So having all of this stuff already pre-cut, ready to go, made this layout just a snap to bring together. So I'm going to go ahead and create a little swag of florals underneath of my photos to cover up that white background. That's made easier by this large piece here that kind of stretched across the one photo on its own. So just a few more pieces and this will blend in rather seamlessly with the background florals, and I think it works really well to create this swag at the bottom that kind of mimics the shape of the wreath to the sides as well. That helps make it blend in a little bit more, and I really like how this one came out. Now, these two photos, you may be wondering what's happening here, what's going on. This is actually documenting a Christmas present. My younger two daughters are autistic, and so we bought them an indoor hammock. And so this hammock is pretty nice. They've really enjoyed it. They have to share it, of course, but I hadn't expected to find more than my twins in this hammock. I actually found my youngest son just snuggled up with them as well and was absolutely charmed by that and had to snap a couple of pictures of the three of them sharing this hammock. Now, one of them was at one end and the other two were at the other end, but it was just incredibly cute, and I had to capture this little snuggly, cuddly moment because, you know, those moments are fleeting. And I was thrilled, and it just kind of made my little mama heart happy to see my kids getting along, cuddled up, being really sweet. And because they're fleeting, we have to capture those moments too. So now that I've got my pieces pretty much in place, I kind of played around with them a little bit to see if I could make this way work, that way work, what looked more balanced. And I think that's a really important part of this process, trying new things, moving things around, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't. I believe some scrappers call it auditioning, and I think that's brilliant. I think it just lets you kind of visualize the finished project and decide whether or not you want those pieces to stay there before you commit with adhesive. So now that I've decided, I've committed, that is where those photos and flowers are going to go. I'm going to go ahead and glue everything down. Now again, because this video was incredibly short, I did not have to do a lot of editing, and it is only 10 minutes long while being nearly in real time. So I hope you enjoy that. I've had some requests to see the entire process, including adhesives, and so I have left that in. Now, these bits and pieces don't all have whole sections to them. Some of them are just partial pieces, and they just tuck in quite nicely into the back of these clusters. So while you're fussy cutting, if you have a floral or a heart that goes off the edge, you can still cut that out and probably use it. Those are great bases and background pieces for clusters. and for these sort of large swags, because you can just tuck them in behind and no one knows they're only half a piece. They're still useful, and so I still fussy cut them out. And they are a very, very helpful thing to just tuck in behind. You don't feel like you're wasting a whole flower because you're tucking in that little half piece behind instead. Now, one of the things that I was trying to keep in mind with this swag is that it is not entirely symmetrical one side to the other, right? We've got the two large flowers on the right and the one large flower on the left. And while those two are balanced, they're not perfectly symmetrical. And so I purposely made my swag lean a little to the left so that it would offset the heavy florals to the right. Now, my florals in place, I'm going to come in with a title and very simple journaling. Now my title is going to be together. I'm just going to pull off this little puffy sticker here and line it up across the top of that white space, and then I'll draw some journaling lines underneath of it. This is a great way to get a title on a page when you have a busy background. Taking advantage of any blank space that you do have to pop in that title and or the journaling is just a great way to fill in what is otherwise just kind of wasted space, and also makes it easier to see if you're using a busy background like this beautiful pink one that I am using. So get my title in place, going to pull out my T-square ruler to draw some journaling lines, as well as these little puffy stars, which I thought were just the perfect little 3D embellishment to add to the 3 clusters on the background. Now 2 of these clusters obviously were part of the wreath itself, so I didn't have to create those. I just am adding on to them, kind of acknowledging their 3-part existence and just adding those stars around the page. Now I will pull that one up at the top off because I really prefer to have 3 stars and not 4. Sometimes using odd numbers can add a little bit of interest to your page, especially something like the stars here that are bright gold and are going to stand out. Now I did decide to bring in this ho 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 button up at the top, and I'll use that as kind of a pin in place, if you will. So like on a bulletin board when you pin it in place, I was thinking the same thing when I was popping that little button on there. Now I'm going to grab some of these teeny tiny little stars and just sprinkle them around the outside. I finish up all of my layouts with some scattering and splattering. The scattering is adding these fine little details, in this case just these teeny tiny puffy stars around the outside of my clusters that just gives them that little added detail that makes it feel finished for me. Now once I get all of my stars on here, I am going to come in with some Nuvo drops, and I'm going to be using some gold Nuvo drops in the centers of the larger florals and then some white Nuvo drops around the outside of the clusters. The Nuvo drops, again, add that fine detail. It's kind of a controlled splatter, and I really, really enjoy using it. It does take a little bit of practice to figure out Nuvo drops, but once you get a pretty steady hand with them, they are actually just like enamel dots and way cheaper. So I really enjoy using Nuvo drops. I think they add a lot, especially in the centers of florals. I think it gives them a little bit more of a 3D look for the whole floral piece when you have a 3D center. So again, like I said, gold, then the white, and we'll finish up with some Heidi Swapp Color Shine as I splatter that around the outside perimeter of the floral wreath, and that just adds a little extra gold all the way around the outside. That's it for this layout. Like I said, it came together so quickly because I did all of that prep work up front. I hope you've enjoyed this one, and if you want to see some detailed photos, be sure to check out the Coco Vanilla blog at cocovanilla.com.au. There's also a ton of inspiration on the blog at that web address from all of the other amazing creators on the design team. Until next time, bye y'all.